Good evening, everybody. Boy, was that a task. I don't know what's going on, but this stupid StreamYard wouldn't pick up my camera, and so, yeah, pretty irritating to say the least. So, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. Yeah, I finally got to get my Christmas decorations down today. I've been working, it seems like nonstop since Christmas Eve. Yeah. And I'm finally off for the weekend. So, and there's a lot going on. It would appear on the Twit. I don't usually go onto Twitter, but I had to go onto Twitter today to get the new filings for Turtleboy's case. And there's a lot of ugliness going on there. Now I know why I don't go on there too much. It's cutthroat, and I just am not into that anymore. I I mean, I thought most of these people were adults, but they sure don't act like it. It's crazy. It's the wild wild west on Twitter. So, and I will always call it Twitter. X, just am I frozen again? What is going on with my computer today? Anyway, so yeah, everybody's just going after each other's jugular on Twitter. And it's kind of scary that people that don't even know each other can treat each other like that. So there's that. I wanted to go over the new filing in Turtleboy's case today. And I also I originally wanted to go over the ex-sheriff's Mickey Stein's deposition, because I never got to finish that from the previous time we were streaming on the Mickey Stein's case. And I have yet to get back to that. So I want to get back to that eventually. I don't know when that will happen, maybe tomorrow. But I just wanted to get through this Turtleboy filing today, since I always seem to miss his filings, because when I look his case up, for some reason I don't get any of the filings or anything. I don't know, it's weird. But let me see. Before I got into the Turtleboy filing, did anybody watch the Spaces last night with the 4 women that talk about the Karen Reed case? And if you did you notice that there was a threat on Turtleboy's life made by, I believe it was Jennifer McCabe's brother-in-law, the same man that threatened to bury Turtleboy under Aunt Bev's cottage on the Cape a year or more ago. Yeah, he called into this Spaces Live and threatened Aiden Carney's life. So I'm wondering, why isn't he being arrested? Isn't Turtleboy on trial for intimidating witnesses, right? So he's obviously, he's obviously a witness. He's the defendant. So why is this man not being arrested for witness intimidation towards Turtleboy? You know? I don't know. I think it's crap. Don't feel like it's fair. Well, we know it's not fair. We knew from the beginning, but still, it's like, I'm trying to find it. It's crazy that it is so blatant, right? Okay, I found it. Okay, so here we go. Let's play this. It's crazy. Whoops, shit. What did I do? Okay. Let's try this again. Maybe I shouldn't have done a recording tonight. Seems like nothing's going my way. Okay. Here we go.
To Auntie Deb, because I got an issue with what he got paid. Apparently, would you say it's he owes me $10? He owes me half. Seeing as I created the character of Auntie Deb that he has hijacked.
How did you
That's
create it? How did you create it?
Did he really?
Oh, you never saw the newscast when they used a threat, an implied threat that I made against Aiden Carney in Bev Canone's courtroom, trying to get Judge Canone to recuse herself based on a quote where I told, actually, I think it was Clarence Woods Emerson, asked me if my family had any connection to Beverly Canone. I said, who? Auntie Deb? Whose seaside cottage do you think we're going to bury your corpse under? And they had a big poster board in the
I
courtroom.
remember that. Your family was horrified, but I was like,
Oh, I know. I horrify everybody. That's okay. Everybody loves me until I say something that they find offensive, and I offend the fuck out of everybody.
Me too. I thought it was like on some level like top tier trolling, because like.
And that's Krusty Panties talking with him. In case anybody's wondering, Kate Peter.
I mean, how many people can say that? Like, I mean, I don't know. That was completely dishonest on Aiden's part,
including refusing to face me face to face.
And for her to say that was completely dishonest on Aiden's part, are you kidding me? We all heard the recording, or we all read the text message, because Aiden did a live and he posted that text message and shared it with us during his live. So for Kate Peter to get on here and say that it was a lie, that Aiden was lying, please. No.
Face, and then turning around and saying that I'm the one who pussied out fighting him. That's like such a fucking joke. But yeah, the other thing I want to say, since he, she, whatever it is gone, him and Keza, the two of them.
Okay, so maybe that wasn't the right one, obviously. Let's see if I can find it. I just played it right before I came on. And of course, Okay, maybe this is it. Let's try
Just want
this
to let
one.
you know, I just got in, checked in real quick, and I noticed that Aiden Kearney, that little fuck, is listening tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Just want to let him know. Just want to let him know that friggin' prison, dude, it's the fucking safest space for you. I can't get you in prison. I'm not gonna take a fucking charge just to get you in prison. But out in the street, dude, you are the most fucking marked man in the fucking world.
Yep.
Gonna get you, dude. I'm gonna find you. And I'm gonna put an end to you.
I'll
Anyway,
pay.
happy New Year, everybody, except for him.
I'll pay your bail if you'll put his ass in prison.
Oh no. There will be no bail for me. There will be no bail.
Well,
Trust me.
damn. I just want you to beat his ass.
We got your
Yeah.
canteen money, buddy.
I mean, honestly, he could almost be stepped on. You could almost step on him.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be
No,
duct
I know
tape.
that's probably not what you're thinking.
It's gonna be duct tape, a fucking metal chip, batteries.
Oh my
Stop
God.
Yeah,
beating
Harry.
him.
Now, if you notice, when he started mentioning the duct tape and a metal shank or whatever he said, the women that run the channel tried to stop him, from finishing his sentence because they know it's a threat. And they can get, I don't know about on Twitter because I know that it's the wild, wild west on Twitter. So I don't know if you can get in trouble for making threats on Twitter. But I know if they put this on YouTube, they're going to edit that out because YouTube would definitely strike them with good reason. That is totally insane what this man is saying. And they're trying to stop him and he won't stop. And he ends up hanging up on him because he knows that he fucked up by finishing his sentence. Listen to this.
There's gonna be
Heavy
a
duty
deal.
deep cell batteries.
Stop telling
There'll
what
be
there's gonna
lots
be
of
to
shit.
do. Stop.
Ah,
We're not gonna
anyway,
tell
I gotta go
people.
put the groceries away. Good night.
Good night, Harry.
Yeah. Yep. So, if I were Aiden, I wouldn't be scared, but I would be pissed. And I think he is. So we'll see what he says about it on his live tonight. But how stupid can you be to, you know how many people have that saved in Aiden Carney's camp? So even if they take it off now, even if they delete it, it's out there. He identifies himself and then he makes the death threat. And Chris Albert is a select board member. He's a select boardman. And he's on the Spaces feed as a guest when all this goes down. In fact, he snickers. You can hear him snickering in the background when this guy says this. He shouldn't be asked to step down from the select board. He should be fired from the select board. If his previous actions towards Turtleboy in the past if they don't fire him for all those, prior behaviors towards Turtleboy, and I'm speaking of the time that Turtleboy and Meredith came out of McCarthy's and CF McCarthy's and were trying to leave after eating dinner, and Chris Albert and all his cronies, which AKA his son's friends, were standing outside D&E Pizza, and Chris Albert proceeded to threaten Aiden Carney and tell him that he could beat his ass all the way up and down the street. If he doesn't get fired for that behavior, he should definitely get fired for this. Even though he's not the one that made the death threat, he knows the person that did, and he stayed on the live stream as if to show support. And it doesn't matter if he comes back and says, well, I wasn't in support of that. I didn't say anything to egg him on. It doesn't matter. You should have hung up, or you should have stopped him from saying it. But you didn't do it either, which means, silence is a form of confirmation. So if you don't deny it or remove yourself from the situation, you're basically agreeing with it. That's my opinion. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. And I think that he needs to be removed immediately from the select board. I can't imagine he does anything for them that makes it worth their while to keep him on at this point. He's got to be more that's just my opinion, but I can't imagine I just can't imagine that he's worth the trouble of keeping him. I mean, what do these people do? What are these people thinking? All that does is it makes them look like they are compliant in all this. So I'm trying to find because for some reason it has suspended my account again. I just got reinstated today. And it's saying that every time I try to go onto one of the people that I'm following, and it says I'm not following them, so I hit follow, it says my account has been suspended. I just got it reinstated. I hate Twitter. Fucking hate it. Let me see, where's this? Filing. Okay, these are all old. Shit. This is such a pain in the ass. Sorry about this. Okay. So is it not going to show me any of the new stuff now because I am suspended again, or what the fuck? God, this is so annoying. Sorry about this. I can't remember Olivia's, what else she goes by. She goes by Olivia Lamb, Olivia Lambeau, and what's the other one? I had it bookmarked, of course, but now, since I'm suspended again, it's not letting me fucking look up my bookmarks. Oh my god. Shit. So fucking annoying. Oh my god. Yeah, these are all old. I'm sorry about this. They keep logging me in under my YouTube channel and not the one I have. The one I have all my bookmarks. That's why it's saying I'm suspended, because just one second. Okay, now how can I get it sent to me? So we're gonna get out of there, and we're going to go here. We're going to go to Google. You guys still with me? Sorry about this. Hmm. Shit. Maybe now it'll let me go into the Twitter. Mm-mm. Okay. This whole thing with Brian LTL and Mike Crawford and all this stuff is just too much. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, that's up there. I swear, we're almost there. I figured out a way to do it without trying to send it to myself. Okay, here we go. Phew. Good Lord. So I hope I didn't lose anybody. Obviously, that will be edited out. Jesus. Okay. Now, do I have... I don't think I have a highlighter on here, but that's all right. Okay. But I've wasted enough of your time, so... Okay, are we ready? Okay, Superior Court, County of Norfolk, Commonwealth of Massachusetts v. Aidan Carney, defendant Belazos J. Don't know who that is. Defendant Sir reply in support of motion to disqualify Robert Cosgrove. December 30th, 2025. Introduction. Public confidence in the integrity of the criminal justice system is essential to its ability to function. And then it gives you the case for that. 505 U.S. 4249, 1992. The Commonwealth's response envisions Robert Cosgrove's conflict with Lindsay Gattani in a vacuum. It ignores that separate and apart from Mr. Cosgrove's conflict, the case against Aidan Carney is rife with other conflicts and scandals, the combined impact of which severely undermines the public's confidence in the integrity of the Norfolk County criminal justice system. A summary of these conflicts and scandals follows. In September 2023, Norfolk District Attorney, quote-unquote, DA Michael Morrissey, Meatball Morrissey, that, better known to us as Meatball Morrissey, recused his office from prosecuting Mr. Carney due to the conflict created by investigating a journalist who publicly accused the DA's office, the Massachusetts State Police, aka the MSP, and various civilians here and Reed for murder. After the Attorney General rejected his entreaty to prosecute Mr. Carney, DA Morrissey engaged Kenneth Mello and Robert Novak as special prosecutors. The MSP Norfolk State Police Detective Unit, SPDU, did not recuse itself, even though it labored under the same conflict as the DA, given Mr. Carney's accusations that Detective Lieutenant DL Brian Tully, former trooper Michael Proctor, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, aka Bukaki, were corrupt in the Reed case. See Bettero affidavit. There's two of them. The full breadth of the Norfolk SPDU's investigative bias against Mr. Carney has been bolstered by the Commonwealth's latest disclosure and recent social media posts made by Sergeant Buchanan. On January 28, 2025, in response to Mr. Proctor, again, smearing Mr. Carney as it's a footnote. Sergeant Buchanan assured him that Mr. Carney, who he disparaged as a would. So what's the footnote? I don't see a footnote. I don't see a footnote. That's weird. Sergeant Buchanan giddily told Mr. Proctor that, you like how he said Mr. Proctor instead of Trooper Proctor, because he's no longer a trooper. That's hilarious. Sorry. I just had to point that out. I don't like that color. Mr. Carney and other unnamed people would be. I don't know what they're saying about this, why it's like that. Exhibit A. Let's see what Exhibit A is. Oh, I can't click on it. Let's try going back to this one. Exhibit A. Redacted. Okay. Mr. Proctor hoped his colleague was correct. Sergeant Buchanan shattered any facade of impartiality in his investigations of Mr. Carney and Miss Reed by professing enthusiastic support for Jennifer and Matthew McCabe and the Alberts. Why does it keep changing my color? I'm sorry. And by revealing his overt bias against and disdain for Mr. Carney and Miss Reed, leveraging his status as a supervising detective in the cases against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed. Footnote 1. In addition to participating in the investigations of Mr. Carney and Miss Reed, Sergeant Buchanan testified that he was intimidated, which is a joke, by Mr. Carney, lobbing questions at him as he left court one day. Remember when Aiden followed him out of the courthouse and was asking him questions, which any good reporter does. An indictment related to this incident was dismissed. At Miss Reed's 2025 trial, Sergeant Buchanan was detailed the MSP's investigation. I don't know what that means. Were they trying to make it look like he was the lead investigator at that point? Yes. So maybe that's what they're talking about. Sergeant Buchanan actively solicited money for witnesses against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed. Yes, he set up a GoFundMe, remember? And his co-defendants in a lawsuit filed by Miss Reed. At least 7 times from November 25th to December 2nd, 2025, even referencing Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Giving Tuesday as perfect days for happy donating, everyone. Why does it keep changing my flippin' color? And so it's footnote 2. Sergeant Buchanan repeatedly directed potential donors to a website created to support the McCabe's and Alberts, whose mission statement is, quote, to protect and empower witnesses and victims of crime who face retaliation, harassment, or defamation for fulfilling their civic duty, end quote. In one post, Sergeant Buchanan included a fundraising link and issued a call to arms seeking financial support for the good, the McCabe's and the Alberts in their fight against evil, Mr. Carney and Miss Reed. Okay, come on. Is this going to do this the whole time? Add a custom color. Custom color. I don't want a custom color. I just want my color to be continual. As I post infrequently, when I do it, it is usually noteworthy, he says. The struggle, the conflict is straightforward. It is a contest between decency, justice, and order versus evil, chaos, and lunacy. That's what he's saying about Karen Reed and Turtleboy. What a piece of total crap. Oh my God. I don't know what's going on here, but it's starting to piss me off. Do I have to do that every time I want to highlight something? It's crazy, right? They need your support. Every donation, regardless of size, is beneficial, as this will be a lengthy process. In another post, Sergeant Buchanan disparaged Mr. Carney's and Miss Reed's supporters for their quote-unquote low level of intelligence, for quote-unquote believing conspiracy theories, and for proudly helping ruin innocent people's lives. God damn it. I don't understand what the fuck is going on, but it's starting to piss me off. Let's see. Tools. Sorry about this, but it's starting to really piss me off. Stop. Sorry about that. That's my dog. Of course she's going to bark today, because why wouldn't she? Wow. On November 29th, 2025, Sergeant Buchanan put to rest any notion of the Norfolk SBDU's actual bias against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed by posting a donation link and revealing himself as the spokesperson for the McCabe and Albert fundraising operation. God damn it. Writing, every donation, not matter the amount, makes a huge difference. Your generosity matters, and the ones in need greatly appreciate your support. I personally thank you on their behalf. Why can't they thank people on their own behalf? Sergeant Buchanan's crowd, the fact that he's acting as their spokesperson says a lot, because he should be non-biased. Even if he's friends with them, he shouldn't be showing any type of bias in this case, because it's directly connected to the criminal case, which he was directly involved in. Sergeant Buchanan, so if he's that biased now, then was he able to just turn off his biasness, or whatever, if that's even a word, during the criminal trial? Probably not. So if he's biased now, he most likely was biased during the criminal trial, which is, I would say that's would definitely call for a recusal of some sort, right? It's too late now. She's been acquitted, but still, it's like these people, they make up the rules as they go along, and nobody stops them. They get away with it over and over and over. Sergeant Buchanan's crowdsourcing of funds for prosecution witnesses against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed may violate Massachusetts conflict of interest law. Exactly. Either way, his overt advocacy for these witnesses and his clear bias against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed makes a mockery of any appearance of impartiality in the Norfolk SPDU's investigations of Mr. Carney and Miss Reed, and obliterates whatever confidence the public had in the integrity of those investigations. I agree. Mr. Mello was disqualified from the 2024 indictment after he made himself a material defense witness. He withdrew from the instant matter while a motion to disqualify him was pending, which included, among other things, proof that he advocated on behalf of witness Chris Albert, while exploiting his official capacity as Mr. Carney's prosecutor. Mr. Novak sought to formally withdraw one day after defense motions to dismiss alleging pervasive prosecutorial misconduct were filed. He got scared because he knew that what they were doing is wrong. In March of 2024, D.A. Morrissey engaged Mr. Cosgrove to, quote-unquote, assist Mr. Mello with, quote, legal analysis and motion work, end quote, on the pending cases against Mr. Carney. In September 2025, Mr. Cosgrove voluntarily withdrew from the 2024 indictment, citing an ethical conflict with Ms. Gaetani after she sued him and D.L. Tolley for intentionally violating her rights during their investigation of Mr. Carney. In June 2025, Miss Reed was acquitted of all charges related to the death of John O'Keefe. A few months later, Miss Reed sued several witnesses against Mr. Carney, among others, for conspiring to violate her civil rights, including D.L. Tolley, Sergeant Buchanan, Mr. Proctor, Miss McCabe, Mr. McCabe, and Brian Albert. Some of these witnesses/defendants have threatened to sue Miss Reed and Mr. Carney, but have not done so. Yeah, they keep saying they're going to, but they don't, do they? I don't see it. This is weird the way it's written. Oh, because I'm doing it in a different format. I'm doing it on Google Documents, that's why. So it's not set up like it's supposed to be. Okay. If the court permits Mr. Cosgrove to remain in this case, he will be prosecuting a high-profile matter of public concern alleging that Mr. Carney intimidated witnesses while he reported on a case against a woman who was acquitted after 2 high-profile trials under the following circumstances. Mr. Cosgrove has been sued for intentional misconduct by Ms. Gaetani, who previously testified for the prosecution but is now a likely defense witness. D.L. Tully has been sued by Ms. Gaetani for intentional misconduct and is Mr. Cosgrove's co-defendant. D.L. Tully he's not D.L. anymore. He's just, he's not a detective anymore. Has been sued by Ms. Reed for violating her civil rights. Tully has been disciplined for his misconduct in the Reed case. Sergeant Buchanan has been sued by Ms. Reed for violating her civil rights. Ms. Reed is a defendant in a pending lawsuit filed by the estate of John O'Keefe. Matthew McCabe, Brian Albert, Chris Albert, Colin Albert, Juliana Nagel, and Mr. Proctor did not testify at Ms. Reed's 2025 trial. At either of Ms. Reed's trials. Sergeant Buchanan was disciplined for his failure to supervise Mr. Proctor in the Reed case. Yeah, I think he lost, 3 PTO days or something stupid? Sergeant Buchanan's documented actual bias in favor of the McCabes and Alberts and against Mr. Carney and Miss Reed will be exposed to the jury. See Exhibits A and B. We already know those are retracted. Mr. Proctor has been sued by Miss Reed for violating her civil rights. Mr. Proctor authored texts disparaging Mr. Carney and revealing his investigative bias during the MSP investigation. Mr. Proctor's repulsive text messages about Miss Reed contributed to his termination from the MSP. Let's see what he said about Aiden, shall we? Yeah, since I'm not highlighting it, I'll just stay on this one. But I don't know if you guys can see this one. Can you? Let's make sure. Let's trade it out officially. So that... Okay. Here. Redacted. Okay. Kind of expected it. Mr. Proctor's repulsive text messages about Miss Reed contributed to his termination from the MSP. Mr. Proctor's electronic communications have jeopardized numerous other cases and made him the national poster child for police misconduct. I think that is hilarious that they say that. I don't know why there's tools, but it doesn't let me use any of them, or it doesn't offer any of them. Okay. 3 key civilian witnesses against Mr. Carney, the McCabes and Brian Albert, have been sued by Miss Reed for conspiracy to violate her civil rights. And Miss Gaetani's testimony will undermine the credibility of D.L. Tully and Miss McCabe, which will subject her to cross-examination by Mr. Cosgrove, and then likely result in Mr. Cosgrove attacking the credibility of his civil accuser. And yet, when he wanted to use her as a witness for the prosecution, she was trustworthy and believable and honest, right? And had integrity. But now that she's suing him and she's possibly a defense witness, she's got no integrity. Got it. This is the landscaper facing the court as it considers whether the public's confidence and integrity in this matter and the Norfolk County criminal justice system will be further eroded by allowing Mr. Cosgrove to prosecute Mr. Carney, notwithstanding Ms. Gaetani's formal accusations against him. Argument. Put simply, As related to Mr. Carney, Mr. Cosgrove is the Commonwealth. As a consequence of the above-described conflicts and scandals plaguing the prosecution of Mr. Carney, the Commonwealth's last remaining prosecutor is one who already recused himself from another case due to his conflict with Miss Gaetani. The undesirable reality that Mr. Cosgrove's disqualification will leave this case, quote-unquote, stateless is the Commonwealth's problem. Hallelujah. It may raise some difficult questions about the prosecution of Mr. Carney, but it should not factor into Mr. Cosgrove's fitness to remain on the case. Here's footnote 5. Mr. Cosgrove is prosecuting Mr. Carney in a 2025 witness intimidation indictment in which Chris Albert and Colin Albert alleged they were emotionally harmed by reviewing video of Mr. Carney clowning around as he looked into a video camera outside of Chris Albert's pizza shop. That's the window intimidation case. On December 5th, 2025, Mr. Cosgrove stated his preference to withdraw from the 2025 matter him from the 2023 case. Ms. Gaetani is unlikely to be a witness in the 2025 case. Thus, the defense has not sought to disqualify Mr. Cosgrove from that matter. This begs the question, why is Mr. Cosgrove so interested in remaining on the 2023 case but willing to abandon the 2025 case? Good question. A further consequence of Mr. Cosgrove being the only prosecutor on this case is that the Commonwealth's response was drafted by a conflicted prosecutor rather than one without a personal interest in seeing Ms. Gaetani discredited. Not surprisingly, the tone and substance of Mr. Cosgrove's response illustrates the conflict between him and Ms. Gaetani. Before Ms. Gaetani accused him of intentional misconduct, Mr. Cosgrove successfully fought to prevent the public release of embarrassing and private details from her personal life by seeking broad impoundment and protective orders. Period. His view apparently changed once Ms. Gaetani sued him. In his response, Mr. Cosgrove publicly regurgitated what he previously condemned Mr. Carney for, widely disseminating about Ms. Gaetani. And then it says, see the Commonwealth Memorandum in opposition. Even worse, in his response, the prosecutor being sued by Ms. Gaetani muses aloud about whether she might be prosecuted for perjury if she testifies as a defense witness at trial. Mr. Cosgrove's implication that Ms. Gaetani's anticipated, quote-unquote, U-turn testimony may expose herself to legal peril serves as a public warning to Ms. Gaetani that she should not testify at Mr. Carney's trial. Footnote 6. In an ordinary situation, a prosecutor might express concern about a witness's possible criminal exposure, but the dynamic between Ms. Gaetani and Mr. Cosgrove is far from ordinary. Mr. Cosgrove had no such concern for Ms. Gaetani's welfare when he called her as a prosecution witness against Mr. Carney at a district court trial, after the defense brought information to the Commonwealth's attention that Ms. Gaetani would expose herself to possible perjury charges if she testified as anticipated. Now that Ms. Gaetani's interests are adverse to his own, Mr. Cosgrove has publicly expressed, quote-unquote, concern that she might perjure herself if she testifies in a manner favorable to Mr. Carney. It does seem kind of weird that she can testify to both sides and be helpful with the same information. So is she changing her story now? Is that how? Because otherwise, how does her information help Aiden if the same information was going to be used against Aiden previously? Left unanswered and emblematic of the conflict that compels his disqualification is whether Mr. Cosgrove is A, expressing his personal opinion about Ms. Gaetani's credibility and criminal exposure in the event her testimony favors Mr. Carney, or B, whether he speaks for the public as a representative of the Commonwealth. Of course, this wouldn't be an open question if the Commonwealth had the wherewithal to have its response to a disqualification motion drafted by someone other than the prosecutor who is the subject of the application and whose response includes his personal opinion that the witness suing him likely will perjure herself if she testifies at trial. Either way, the conflict is undeniable. Mr. Cosgrove personally benefits in the civil case by discrediting Ms. Gaetani in the criminal case, which means his continued participation in this matter will lessen the public's confidence in the integrity of the prosecution. Nor should the irony of Mr. Cosgrove's comments about Ms. Gaetani's credibility be lost on the court. A civil defendant / prosecutor with a clear personal motive to discredit his accuser and or prevent her from testifying issued her a public quote-unquote perjury warning in a case where he will argue to the jury that Mr. Carney attempted to intimidate witnesses by, among other things, urging them to quote-unquote tell the truth. Isn't that ironic? Given the Commonwealth's broad interpretation of the intent and emotional injury elements of witness intimidation, who knows if Miss Gaetani, a witness against Mr. Cosgrove, will allege that public statements by a powerful prosecutor / defendant warning her about criminal exposure if she testifies constitutes witness intimidation of her by the adverse party in her lawsuit. The case against Mr. Carney is a high-profile matter of public concern which raises serious of protected speech and alleged witness intimidation. Mr. Carney and the public are entitled to a conflict-free, unbiased proceeding in which he and the public have confidence. This case cannot credibly proceed in its current posture. Mr. Cosgrove's personal interest in discrediting Miss Gaetani conflicts with Mr. Carney's, the Commonwealth's, and the public's interest in fair and just legal proceedings, and compels his disqualification for the exact reason Mr. Cosgrove voluntarily withdrew from the 2024 indictment. I think it's the 2023 indictment, but that's okay. Quote, "It is fundamentally unfair to permit a district attorney to prosecute a case where he has a personal interest which prevents the district attorney from serving his only permissible master, the public," end quote. It is, of course, quote, "It is, of course, improper for a prosecutor to participate in a case where he has a pecuniary interest, or if the prosecutor's personal interest as the defendant in a civil case will be furthered by a successful criminal prosecution. In such circumstances, a conflict arises because the prosecutor, as a representative of the public, quote, must seek justice to protect the innocent as well as to convict the guilty," end quote. And prosecution by a civil defendant may deny, quote, "the impartial exercise," end quote, "of prosecutor's discretion." Notwithstanding his personal interest in discrediting Miss Gaetani due to her allegations of misconduct against him, Mr. Cosgrove reasons that the same conflict that led him to voluntarily withdraw from the 2024 indictment does not require his disqualification here, because A, Miss Gaetani is not a quote-unquote necessary Commonwealth witness, and B, any testimony she might provide is not relevant. Really? He is wrong. I would say so. A defendant has a constitutional right to attack a witness's credibility by establishing that witness's bias and motive to falsely accuse him. This includes revealing, quote, possible biases, prejudices, or ulterior motives of the witness as they may relate directly to issues or personalities in the case at hand, end quote. Assuming, arguendo, that Mr. Cosgrove does not call Miss Gaetani as a witness and that her testimony would not be relevant to the substance of the indicted charges, Miss Gaetani's testimony will undermine the credibility of key prosecution witnesses, D.L. Tolley, Miss McCabe, and possibly others. In addition to being examined about issues that adversely impact Miss McCabe's credibility and D.L. Tolley's possible tampering with her cell phone, Miss Gaetani may be questioned about separate civil allegations. Sorry. Sorry about that. Ugh, it's so frustrating. In addition to being examined about issues that adversely impact Miss McCabe's credibility and D.L. Tully's possible tampering with her cell phone, Miss Gaetani may be questioned about separate civil allegations pending against D.L. Tully in 2 lawsuits. Footnote 8. The court has discretion to decide whether D.L. Tully's credibility is a critical issue and whether his alleged misconduct is admissible in the interest of justice. Okay, so in any scenario in which Mr. Cosgrove examines these witnesses and or comments on their credibility, fundamental fairness requires that the jury be made aware that the prosecutor addressing it has a personal interest in discrediting Miss Gaetani and crediting those whose credibility is damaged by Miss Gaetani. But such a scenario would expose the jury to Mr. Cosgrove's conflict of interest, which means that the proper remedy is to ensure that another, disinterested prosecutor conduct these examinations and address the credibility of these witnesses. But see, the thing is they can't find another prosecutor to take this case because they all know that there's no way that they can win it. They all know that they'd be crawling into bed with the devil, so to speak, So, yeah. They're not going to be able to find another prosecutor to try this case. It is axiomatic that an individual prosecutor cannot prosecute a case in which his personal interests differ from those of the Commonwealth, where there is a quote-unquote significant risk that an individual prosecutor's representation of the Commonwealth in a specific matter will be materially limited by the lawyer's personal interest. The prosecutor, quote-unquote, shall not represent the Commonwealth in this case. See Massachusetts Rule of Professional Conduct. Okay, so where were we? Sorry. It is axiomatic, I think I read this part. It is axiomatic that an individual prosecutor cannot prosecute a case in which his personal interests differ from those of the Commonwealth, where there is a quote-unquote significant risk that an individual prosecutor's representation of the Commonwealth in a specific matter will be materially limited by the lawyer's personal interest. The prosecutor, quote-unquote, shall not represent the Commonwealth in the case. Okay. Here, Mr. Cosgrove's personal interest in seeing Miss Gaetani discredited differs from the Commonwealth's interest, which in every case is to see that, quote-unquote, justice is done. Yeah, because now he is so focused on proving that she is, unreliable and wants to just discredit her. So he's not focusing on the ultimate goal of the case, which is to represent the Commonwealth, the people of the Commonwealth. So he's not focused on that. He's focused on his own personal vendetta now against her because she's suing him. Okay. The district attorney properly has only the people of the Commonwealth. His duty is to seek justice and to protect the innocent as well as to convict the guilty. In accordance with its obligation to quote-unquote see that justice is done, it is in the Commonwealth's interest to investigate allegations that may adversely impact the credibility of its witnesses, even if the results may favor Mr. Carney. It is therefore incumbent that the Commonwealth fully vet Miss Gaetani's claims regarding the credibility of D.L. Tully, Miss McCabe, and others. Miss Gaetani has alleged that she was pressured to cooperate by Miss McCabe. She says she has receipts for that also. Let's see if she does. She has claimed that She has claimed that Miss McCabe provided benefits to Catherine Peter. She has asserted that Miss McCabe has voodoo dolls of Mr. Carney and Miss Reed in her home. She was told by Catherine Peter that Miss McCabe was worried about the disclosure of text messages between her and Carrie Roberts, which revealed that a few days after John O'Keefe's death, they discussed who would play them in a movie. And Carrie Roberts thought that she thought that Sandra Bullock should play her in a movie. On December 20th, this is footnote 9. On December 20th, 2025, Miss Roberts publicly claimed that she and Miss McCabe joked about Sandra Bullock coming out of retirement because they, quote-unquote, needed her. Miss Roberts also said that they determined Miss McCabe was, quote-unquote, Angelina, presumably Angelina Jolie, and that, quote-unquote, we even had an actor in mind to play Mr. O'Keefe in the movie. How disgusting. His body wasn't. It is in the Commonwealth's interest to investigate these claims because if they are true, Miss McCabe's credibility will be undermined. It already is. Miss Gaetani will testify that D.L. Tully intentionally mishandled her cell phone by tampering with and or deleting its contents. D.L. Tully will deny this. Mr. Cosgrove has accepted D.L. Tully's explanation without any further investigation. Clearly, these issues are relevant to D.L. Tully's credibility, and the jury should not be ignorant to the fact that the prosecutor addressing it has a personal interest in favoring D.L. Tully over Miss Gaetani because he was sued by Miss Gaetani and is D.L. Tully's co-defendant. Let's see what this one is. That's 6 pages, but it's basically from that. Okay, this is having recently been informed that Attorney Mello's medical issues have impeded progress on the discovery issues, I am attempting herein to move things along as expeditiously as I can. And then it shows what's on the thumb drive that was included in this. Additionally, it is my understanding that Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully provided you with the following items. And it shows what he provided. Unfortunately, I cannot quite certify that discovery is complete, although it is almost so. I believe the Commonwealth is still awaiting transcription of some grand jury minutes in addition to those provided you today. Also, in your email of April 27, 24, you asked me to note that Mr. Mello has admitted to engaging in direct communication with Miss Gaetani, to journalist Jessica Machado, and to Lieutenant Tully. Gaetani admitted to destroying communications between and among her, Mello, and Lieutenant Tully, who duly and appropriately noted this in his police report. Mr. Mello joins Lieutenant Tully as a witness in Gaetani's case as a result. Mr. Mello's and Lieutenant Tully's, see, he doesn't call him detective, Tully's texts, emails, and phone records of these calls are clearly discoverable, and I expect them on May 8th. They are automatic discovery and were also specifically requested. At least in the short run, your expectation will not be fully met. Mr. Mello informs me that his telephone conversations with Miss Gaetani did not result in his taking notes, that they were initiated by her, and that he typically responded that she should talk with the police, not him, as he did not wish to become a witness. There was one instance where she called and awoke him at 3:45 a.m. on Christmas Eve. That call lasted 44 seconds, and beyond gleaning that she was very upset, he could not make sense of what she was saying. There was another call on either the 23rd or the 24th where Attorney Mello again found Miss Gaetani difficult to understand. He converted the call to a conference call, in essence forwarding the call to Tolley, then put the phone down. According to Lieutenant Tolley's report previously provided, this was at about 10:30 p.m. Regarding previously provided, I have had an opportunity to discuss with Lieutenant Tolley his communications. There are indeed texts, and Lieutenant Tolley will take screenshots of them and provide them to me. He should turn over his phone. Subject to my actual review of them, my initial impression would be that as statements of a witness, you are likely entitled to them, but as noted, I want to review them first. I do not expect this to take long. Lieutenant Tolley has no email from Miss Gaetani. I am not so sure you are entitled to the phone records you seek, but we'll take a closer look at this issue. In any event, they are not in our possession. We will pursue the issue initially by seeking them from the appropriate cell phone carrier. Discovery on the subject of the phone extractions. You state that you believe that, quote unquote, several texts are not included in conversations with Miss Gaetani, talking to others, and you ask why. As you know, if the Commonwealth seeks to enter electronically stored information into evidence, should a challenge arise, it is important to us to be able to demonstrate through testimony or other competent evidence that the Commonwealth has not altered or tampered with the evidence. You have a full and complete copy of what the Commonwealth has. Two full and complete, actually, which will be the subject of an upcoming motion. If there is data, quote unquote, missing, that is because it was missing when the phone came into the Commonwealth's possession, custody, and control, and thus we do not have it. Very truly, Robert Cosgrove. Dear Attorney Bradel, I have reviewed the list prepared by Courtney Healy of your office dated May 17, I think that's supposed to be 2024, and captioned, quote, missing items for Carney cases, end quote, which you provided me on the most recent Superior Court date, and I have inquired of the appropriate parties. Here are the results of my inquiries. I provided you on the last date of notices of discovery to date, and will provide you with any future such notices. Quote unquote, statement of facts from 24 case. The practice of the Commonwealth's filing of a statement of facts, as I understand it, originated with a request to prosecutors' offices from Judge Hitler. From Judge Hiller Zobel in Middlesex County, and from there had spread to a number of other counties, including Norfolk. Sorry. That said, there is no requirement under the rules that such a statement be filed. When and if the Commonwealth files such a statement in the 24 case, it will serve you with a copy. Poll camera footage, as you note, this was already provided, but you say you lack a quote-unquote valid reader. A copy of the same reader used by the Commonwealth was provided. We shall provide another copy with the redacted version of Miss Gaetani's cell phone download. However, unless your copy has been corrupted, it may be that your problem is user error. What an asshole. Like he's Mr., electronics guy. Gaetani Celebrite extraction. We will provide you with a copy of the pertinent software and attempt to correct any readability problems on the redacted phone extraction. As we discussed when we conferenced the district court case, this is a labor-intensive process and is taking longer than I originally estimated. Additionally, this week in particular, Detective Lieutenant Tolley has been occupied with his role in the Karen Reed case, including several days of testimony. He didn't testify in the second case. So they're fucking lying right there. We shall provide you with the exchange redacted version as expeditiously as we can. Statements for referencing quote unquote repeated mentions of the Alberts and accusations of them being responsible for the murder of John O'Keefe and taken part in the cover up. Please examine your client's numerous videos, which are within his possession, custody, or control, and generally available online on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. For specific reference, see example, and then it gives the number. He was testifying in the Karen Reed case. He didn't testify in the second trial. So, I don't know how these people get away with all these lies. It just blows me away. Evidence of Mr. Carney's readers, followers, and supporters have also engaged in harassment by placing over 50 orders per day at D&E Pizza and Subs and never paying for the food. I call bullshit on that too. There appears to be no specific document referencing over 50 orders a day. As to the rest, please examine your client's numerous videos, which are within his possession, custody, or control, and generally available on the previous stated social media outlets. See also the grand jury testimony of Christopher Albert. Threats of retribution. Case report page 13, number 8. The Commonwealth has been unable to identify what you refer to. Recordings or photos of Colin Albert being followed and recorded leaving his of none. Items referenced in discovery regarding complainant Lindsay Gaetani. Screenshot that Carney allegedly sent her showing multiple calls on a certain day that show Karen Reed signal audio in the call log. Gaetani showed Lieutenant Detective Tolley and Investigator Nelson the shot on her cell phone during her first interview. It was not on her cell phone at the subsequent point that it was copied, and therefore not in Commonwealth's possession, custody, or control. Any and all texts, phone calls, and voicemail records between Attorney Mello and Gaetani and Brian Tolley and Gaetani. As to Lieutenant Tolley, text records were provided on the last court date. There are no voicemails recorded, and the Commonwealth states that the defendant is not entitled to Lieutenant Tolley's phone records. The Commonwealth previously summarized the phone conversation between Attorney Mello and Ms. Gaetani on the day of the incident in the undersigned's last letter to you. You pointed out to me that the copies of the text messages provided you did not include readable images sent accompanying the text. Lieutenant Detective Tolley has subsequently attempted to bring those images up on his cell phone without success. Of course. Possibly this is an issue with Apple. Further attempts will be made, and if we can receive the images, they will be provided. Indian all call logs and recordings of communications, 911 or business line calls between Attorney Mello and Medfield Police Department and Brian Tolley and the Medfield Police Department. To the extent such exist and are relevant and material, they will be provided. Copies of the referenced notes Lindsay Gaetani misappropriated from Mr. Carney, copy attached here too. Copies of all relevant GJ minutes and their exhibits have been provided. I don't know what GJ is. So, there's that. Clearly, these issues are relevant to D.L. Tolley's credibility, and the jury should not be ignorant. Okay, I already read that part. As is the case with evidence regarding Ms. McCabe's credibility, it is in the Commonwealth's interest to determine whether Ms. Gaetani's allegations about D.L. Tolley are true. But it is in Mr. Cosgrove's personal interest to simply credit Ms. McCabe and his co-defendant D.L. Tolley and to discredit Ms. Gaetani. Moreover, Mr. Cosgrove is incapable of acting in the Commonwealth's interest regarding Ms. Gaetani's allegations because he cannot directly engage his accuser. In any event, it is hard to fathom why Ms. Gaetani would agree to speak to Mr. Cosgrove about these issues given their present legal entanglement. Just one second. The bottom line is that any scenario in which Mr. Cosgrove agrees in support of D.L. Tully's credibility and or against Miss Gaetani's credibility serves his personal interest above all else. There's simply no way around this conflict. As described by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, Miss Gaetani's unvetted allegations make it untenable for Mr. Cosgrove to prosecute this case because his personal interest is discrediting Miss Gaetani is in conflict with the Commonwealth's interest in quote-unquote seeing that justice is done, and leads to the inescapable conclusion that his participation fails to, quote, preserve the appearance of impartiality, end quote, in the proceedings. As previously noted, this appearance of impartiality will be further destroyed by the Norfolk SPDU's failure to recuse itself, Mr. Proctor's biased and disparaging comments about Mr. Carney during the investigation, and evidence of Sergeant Buchanan's lack of impartiality, fundraising efforts, and advocacy on behalf of witnesses against Mr. Carney. Sergeant Buchanan's fundraising on behalf of prosecution witnesses obligates the Commonwealth under Brady, Giglio, and Rule 14 to investigate. It tends to show that the McCabe's and Alberts were offered, sought, expected, or received any possible benefits related to Sergeant Buchanan's solicitation on their behalf. This includes communications between and among Sergeant Buchanan and the witnesses, and records of money received by the witnesses related to Sergeant Buchanan's request for donations. In these circumstances, it is, quote, improper for a prosecutor to participate in a case, end quote, where a threat to his personal and professional reputation is created by a, quote, bona fide civil lawsuit alleging bad faith in the performance, end quote, of his official duties. This is the exact situation that exists here in light of Miss Gaetani's allegations against Mr. Cosgrove. And then footnote 11. Mr. Cosgrove's opinion that Miss Gaetani's lawsuit will not survive a motion to dismiss doesn't absolve the conflict. The conflict is created by Miss Gaetani's allegations, which, even if not the subject of an active lawsuit, create the risk of reputational and professional damage to Mr. Cosgrove. Reversal on finding of conflict where a, quote, sincere and conscientious public official would naturally be outraged by alleged defamatory statements, as would any person having his good reputation. Am I not sharing anymore? Oh my God. So it's probably since we went back and read that. Is this what we read? Nope. Okay, so what is this? Okay, we'll pick up here. As described by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, Ms. Gaetani's unvetted allegations make it untenable for Mr. Cosgrove to prosecute this case because his personal interest in discrediting Ms. Gaetani is in conflict with the Commonwealth's interest in, quote-unquote, seeing that justice is done, and leads to the inescapable conclusion that his participation fails to preserve the appearance of impartiality in the proceedings. As previously noted, this quote-unquote appearance of impartiality will be further destroyed by the Norfolk SPDU's failure to recuse itself, Mr. Proctor's biased and disparaging comments about Mr. Carney during the investigation, and evidence of Sergeant Buchanan's lack of impartiality, fundraising efforts, and advocacy on behalf of witnesses against Mr. Carney. In these circumstances, it is, quote, improper for a prosecutor to participate in a case, end quote, where a threat to his personal and professional reputation is created by a bona fide civil lawsuit alleging bad faith in the performance of his official duties. This is the exact situation that exists here in light of Miss Gaetani's allegations against Mr. Cosgrove. Accordingly, quote, given the need to promote the appearance of justice, a trial court on a timely motion should disqualify a prosecutor from participating in a criminal action when he has a personal conflicting interest in a civil case, end quote. The district attorney must be held to the highest ethical standards, which include even the appearance of a conflict of interest. Disqualification appropriate where prosecutor has, quote, a significant personal interest in a civil matter which may impair his obligation, end quote, in criminal case. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons and those stated in the prior defense submissions, the court should disqualify Robert Cosgrove from participating in the prosecution of docket number, it gives the docket number, dated December 30th, 2025, New York, New York, by Mark A. Betterow. And then this certificate of service. So, there is that. I have to say that it's not looking good for Cosgrove, and I agree. I don't understand why he is so set on prosecuting this case when he gave up the cases that were ultimately dropped against Aiden Carney. He gave him up with no problem. Is he that angry, and is he after Lindsay Gaetani that much? I mean, what is it about this one particular case that has him so invested? I guess is the word. I mean, it's not even none of them are witness intimidation cases, to be honest with you. But they were literally speaking to a window. He and the Glare did not know that there was audio recording because that's illegal. And Mark Betterow, because of that, the fact that they were also recorded, the recording included audio, Mark Betterow actually wrote the chief of police at the time, I forget her name, anyway, and told her that he was expecting her to be fair and address that crime sooner than later, because it is a crime there. And if you're going to prosecute Aiden Carney on all this bullshit, then you need to bring charges up against Chris Albert. It's only fair. Otherwise, how can you say that you are impartial and non-biased if you're not willing to bring Chris Albert up on charges of wiretapping? I understand that he's a select boardsman or a selectman, but she responded to Mark Betterow by saying, I will have to pass this on to another department as he is my boss, and that would be a conflict of interest for me to to bring charges up against my boss, which, okay, that's understandable. I call bullshit. I think you're just scared. And she soon retired after that. Not long after that, she retired. So I think she wanted to get her foot out of the fire as fast as possible. I think she wanted to cut all ties with this case. Anything that has to do with the Karen Reed case, I think she wanted to wash her hands of. I think she was getting scared. So she retired not long after that, but nothing was ever done. No, we never heard another word about it. And I would venture to say that she probably didn't forward it to another department or another, department, police department. And if I were Mark Betterow, I would inquire. First, I would inquire as to what police department she forwarded the inquiry to, and then I would contact that department and ask them what the holdups, why the holdup, why has nothing been done to bring Chris Albert up on charges of wiretapping. And he still might. I mean, I think Mark Betterow is holding a lot of cards under the table. I think he's holding them really close to his chest, and he's only showing what he needs to as he needs to, which is smart. He's an awesome attorney. I mean, he's amazing as far as I'm concerned. And he's proven to be a great asset to Aiden's defense team, and Aiden's very lucky to have him on his team. And I think that the crap that Mark Betterow is just that crap, and he doesn't need the extra headaches that are on the twat, as they call it. I know he enjoys, following stuff on Twitter. Mark really enjoys being involved in the social media, and I think a lot of it has to do with the cases he works. There's a lot to be found on social media when you're defending people and whatnot. Things that people forgot about, things that were posted maybe even years prior that people forgot about. And it's a gold mine of information if you're a lawyer, I would think. And Mark knows how to navigate those waters very well. He's very good at navigating Twitter. And Aiden should be thankful for that, because a lot of the stuff that has been brought up in the last year in Aiden's case has really, really made his case that much stronger. It was already strong, but now he has receipts to back up a lot of what he was speculating on. We knew that what he was speculating on was true. It was just hard to prove, but now he's got actual receipts for all this stuff. So, and I think Mark Betterow is to thank for that. I mean, Timothy Bradel, the Silver Fox, is a golden attorney for Aiden in a totally different way. I mean, they both have their own styles and their own ways of handling cases, and both of their input and what they have to offer the case is priceless, And so, yeah, I feel like some of the stuff that I've read on Twitter, people disparaging Mark Betterow, what did he ever do to anybody but answer questions for free? Whenever anybody had a question and he was on, the panel of a YouTube channel, all he did was answer questions and help people understand the legal process as it was happening in real time. And now all of a sudden he's the subject of people's rage and bullshit. I mean, grow up, people. That's why I don't waste my time on Twitter unless I need to find something to go over on my channel. But it's just the Wild West over there. And I think that Elon Musk, right? I think he enjoys it. I think he enjoys sitting back and just reading all the bullshit people put out there on his site. I think he has somewhat of a sick fetish, you know, reading out everybody's bullshit that they air out. Because some of the stuff that people air out on there is unbelievable. That they can just air their dirty laundry, so to speak, for lack of a better term. So anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to go over tonight. And tomorrow we will do the ex-sheriff of Letcher County, Kentucky, Mickey Steins. We'll read through his deposition. It's like 100 and something pages long. We're not going to go through all of it. I just want to cover and it's a deposition for the civil case of Adkins v. Fields. And Ben Fields is the deputy sheriff that worked under Mickey Steins. He's the one that was sentenced for exploiting female prisoners for sexual favors and whatnot. So, yeah, this was Mickey Stein's deposition for that case, but they think it will play a big part in his criminal case that's upcoming, his murder trial. So I kind of want to see that's why they feel that way. Did he know about stuff that was going on? Did he know that Mullins was involved? So I think it might hold some interesting tidbits about the Mullins-Stein relationship or lack thereof at that point. And his mental state, because I'm telling you, some of the stuff I started reading already, he was having a hard time understanding simple questions that the attorney was asking him. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with him? I mean, was he already suffering from some mental psych issues at that point already? Because I think that deposition was last year. So was he already showing signs of mental lapse or whatever you want to call it? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to read some of that stuff. So I hope that you guys will join me tomorrow. If not, watch it later. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend if you don't tune in tomorrow. And stay safe, stay warm, and stay dry. And I will talk at you all later. Night.